One big difference in a city. All right, let's move on to town, please. Here we go. Excuse me, country. Let's move on to the country. All right, this looks really different. What are we noticing? Let me give you a flashback of what the other picture looked like. Okay, and now let's take a look. Whoa, super different. Yeah, I see a lot of farms. You hear Angie and Quinn, Annika, Alba, Lena, a lot less cars, like basically none, right? And like there are roads like this, like paved, smaller roads, but I definitely don't see traffic. Lots of grass, lots of greenery. As Shara said, it's not crowded. Yep, there's open space. There's some sheep. There could be cows and some horses. Yeah, it isn't that much, right, Aberdeen? There's really not. There's no cardinal buildings, skyscrapers. Definitely greener.
About how good I am in the math.
Ominous, lots of outdoor space.
How good I am
Pavia, lots of plants. Smaller buildings, yeah, exactly. Just like some small homes, maybe some stores or a church or some important, like a town hall type of building, but definitely not crowded. Fields, good. I think you can breathe more. Yeah, there's maybe barns and things like that. Definitely, yeah. So it's less crowded, a lot more green. Not as many cars, not as many people, for sure. And a lot of open space, definitely. Definitely. Okay, wonderful. I think we're ready to get started now that we have lots of different background information. So when our story says town mouse and country mouse, this would be the country because it's countryside. So it's not country like the United States or Canada or Mexico. Like it's not that type of country, like the name of a country, but it's called country as in the countryside. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that. And the town would be like a city, like the big city that we just saw. Something like that would be the town. And this would be like the country or countryside that they're referring to in the book. Okay? So any questions before we get started about towns and countries and what that looks like and the way that the environment would be, the way that the setting would be, because we will see both of these things. Are we good to go? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to change my screen back to where it's just me. And let's go ahead and start reading our story. Okay, here we go. So this is called The Town Mouse and Country Mouse. And this is retold by Susanna Davidson and illustrated by Jacqueline East. And originally, this is from an Aesop fable. And that's there's a collection of really wonderful books called Aesop's Fables, and we can talk more about that. But the second story that I'm going to present to you will also have, it's also from Aesop's Fables collection. So really interesting. All right, here we go, friends. There once was a little brave country mouse. His name was Pippin. He lived in a house in a hedge. Let's really make sure we're noticing all the things in the setting. For this story, the setting is going to be very important. In spring, he lay in the grass and listened to the birds sing. In summer, he nibbled on a wild strawberry and he cut grass for his winter bed. One day, as the weather grew colder and a chill wind blew, he heard a tap, tap, tap at his door. Who do we think it is? What was that? What was that tap, tap, tap at the door? Town mouse. So this is the So Pippin is the country mouse. So let's see who's at the door now. Pippin, called a voice. It's your cousin. I've come to stay. Pippin flung open the door. Wow, right away. Check out what they look like. So this is Country Mouse, Town Mouse. I'm noticing they look pretty different. What's different about them? We're going to see some more information as we keep reading. Okay. Toby Town Mouse, he cried, come in. So we have Pippin and we have Toby Town Mouse. Pippin made Toby a seat from soft, squishy moss. It's too damp, said Toby Town Mouse. So moss is kind of like, it's what he's carrying here. It's like really soft, but it grows like on tree barks and things like that. It's almost kind of spongy. And because it's spongy, he was like, this is too damp. It's like really kind of wet when I sit on it. Not super comfortable. And someone said, yes, he's dressed much more fancy. Toby Town Mouse is a little bit more fancy for sure. Okay, let's continue on. Pippin took Toby for a walk. Achoo! Oh, smell the flowers. So he's like, lovely flowers. And he's like, oh my goodness, my allergies. But the flowers made him sneeze. That night, Pippin went to his food store. Kind of like his food storage, what we would call a pantry or like a cupboard full of food. He picked out his best nuts and berries. He's like, wow, my cousin came to visit me. I want to make sure I give him the best of whatever I have. But what does Toby Town Mouse say? Ugh, said Toby Town Mouse, I hate nuts. Is this all you have? In town, we eat like kings. Yeah, Shalka's saying that's rude. It does sound rude, doesn't it? I don't know if he's trying to be rude, but he's just like, ugh, oh my goodness, is this all you have? Seriously? Where I'm from in the town, we eat like kings. There's so much. There's lovely, like so much food. Let's see. Really? Said Pippin. Come and see for yourself, said Toby. The country is horrible. You'll never want to live here again. Yikes. So he comes and visits him for one day, and he's like, oh my goodness, come visit the town with me. You are going to love it there. You'll never want to move back to the country. So let's see. The next day, the cousins woke at dawn. Dawn is like really early, right even before the sun comes up. We'll take the train, said Toby. Okay. So they're waking up super early. Yeah, we have some comments saying, yeah, I think he's being kind of rude. Let's see and find out like what is actually happening in this story and why. They ran to the station. Soon, they heard the rattle-tattle of pebbles jumping on the railway line. The train is coming, cried Pippin. It's huge. It came to a stop with a screech and a snort. A door flew open. Jump, said Toby. The train gave a shriek and a snort, and it was off again. Chugga, 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 choo, choo. Wow, this looks nothing like what they were seeing in the country, right? Okay. Pippin looked out the window. He could see the trees waving their branches. Then there were no trees at all, just tall buildings touching the sky. As the sky grew dark again, a train stopped. Toby twitched his whiskers. He sniffed the air. We're here, he said. At last, I'm in town again. Home, sweet home. Now, follow me. Toby leaped onto the train platform. Be quick, Pippin, he called. Watch out for stamping feet. He's like, help! He's like, I've never seen anything like this. They're so small because they're mice and they're about to get trampled and stomped on. The mice ran out of the station and onto a busy street. Pippin gasped. There was so much noise. The cars vroommed, the horns beeped, and the smells. Pippin sniffed his first sausage and coughed on the smoke. And then there's like, vroom, beep, ding-a-ling-a-ling, out of my way, get out of here, move, watch out. There's like so many people and everyone seems like they're in a rush. Yikes, this is definitely different for Pippin. And this, said Toby proudly, pointing his paw, is my house. He crept in through a small hole. Pippin followed. They ran down dark corridors. A corridor is like a hallway. So they ran down dark corridors under the floor and up secret stairs behind the walls. Isn't this grand? Wow. They danced across the empty ballroom. Very fancy. Toot toot. And played with toys in the children's nursery. So there's lots to do here where Toby lives. Race you to the dining room, said Toby. Time for a feast. Wow, definitely a feast. Look how fancy. The mice jumped onto the table and began to eat. They nibbled on pie. They licked up cream. Wow. Better than just some berries, huh? Now they have a whole feast. Toby ate his way through the cheese, while Pippin dipped his paw in chocolate sauce. Gosh, said Toby, I'm nearly full. Hiccups? They're eating so much they were getting hiccups. Pippin clutched his tummy. I think I'm going to be sick. Oh my goodness. They ate until they're super full. Suddenly, the table shook and Toby turned. Run for your life! It's the cat, he cried. Hello, purred the cat, licking her lips. My dinner time, I think. Toby grabbed Pippin. Come on, he said. Yikes, that definitely wasn't there in the country. They darted this way and that. Pounce, pounce went the hungry cat. She knocked over a jug and it crashed to the floor. Quick, Toby called, into this hole. Pippin ran, the cat leaped, she swiped at Pippin with her pointy claws. And missed. Oh, drat, she hissed. Wow, they are really trying to just escape away from this cat. Pippin dropped to the floor. Oh, cousin, she said, I want to go home. It's not even a day. And he's like, I want to go home. Not yet, said Toby. You haven't tried my fine feather bed. But the next morning, Pippin still wanted to leave. Toby gave him a map to the station. Don't get lost. Goodbye, said Pippin. So after one day, he's like, yikes, this is just too much. It's just too much hustle and bustle, just too much excitement or even danger. I don't know about this. I'm just going to leave. So he left the very next morning. Yeah. All right, so there he is again. Toby Town Mouse at the station. Pippin ran to the station. He danced in and out of the stomping feet. So just like he was just trying to really escape. And he hid in a bag to get on the train. He was barely even there. In the starry dark, Pippin finally reached his hedge. Ah, home, sweet home. He sniffed the sweet, cold air and smiled. Then he snuggled down in his warm hay bed. This is the life for me, he said. And that, my friends, is the end of the story. I want to read the last little bit of information right here. Remember how I mentioned Aesop's fables? So it says the Town Mouse and Country Mouse is one of Aesop's fables. These are a collection of short stories first told in ancient Greece around 4,000 years ago. So there are stories that have been passed on and on and on and retold in so many different ways and put in books and read-alouds and things like that. That is amazing. 4,000 years ago, the collection of short stories of Aesop's fables. All right, let's get back to the story. Wow. So what do we think about this? What do you think about this story? Interesting, huh? It's what I thought. Let's think about it in the terms of story elements. So if we go back and talk about story elements, I'm going to share my screen. If we go back and talk about these, what were some of the characters in this story? Actually, there's two main ones, to be honest. Let me just go to, there we go. Okay. Who are the characters in this story? Yep, you're right. Town Mouse and Country Mouse. So I'm just going to fill this out as you help me out with the answers. All right. So we have Town Mouse and Country Mouse. All right. What was the setting of the story? Where did the story take place? We have a cat too, but the cat was a really small character. And that she didn't play a big part in the story. You're right. She was part of the story and she did have some lines, but she wasn't a big part of the story. I'm seeing lots of great comments, the town and the country. All right, and what happened in the beginning? Who came to visit first? Town Mouse came to the country. Good. So in the beginning, Town Mouse came to visit. So let's actually use their real names. It's Toby, right? Toby came to visit Pippin in the country. Good. And then what happened in the middle of the story? He really didn't like it, did he? He's like, yes, you should come and see what my house is like in the town. So that's what happened. You're right. They took the train, and then Pippin went to visit Toby in the town, but didn't like it. Yep, on the train. Absolutely. And I'll put, but Toby didn't like it there either. And then in the end, what happened? You're right, Ariel. Thank you. Both mice stayed in their own homes. I don't know how long it'll be till they visit again because it seems like they're pretty happy in their own homes. I'm going to put and. We're happy there. Okay. Was there a problem in this story or a solution? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think was the problem and the solution in the story? Or was there a problem and a solution? I'm hearing a lot. Yeah, they didn't like each other's homes. The cat, you're right, Magdalene. The cat was a problem. Ishara, yeah, I think so. The cat was a problem. But also, I think the problem was that they're like, yikes, we really don't like it here. And then the solution was that they just went to their own homes. Yes, I agree. They ended up running away from the cat. So the problem could be they didn't like each other's homes. Not so much the home, but the town or the country. And also, the cat tried to eat them, right? So they went back to their own homes. And the solution is, well, they escaped safely, right? Away from that cat. Awesome. Okay, great job. Wonderful. So now let's talk about the characteristics. Yes, thank you, King. They just went back to their own homes and lived happily ever after. You got it. Something else before we move on. What do you think? Remember I talked about the lesson that can be applied to your life? What do you think the lesson is in this story? What was the moral? What can we learn from this? What do you think the lesson is in the story? Ariel said, love your home. Matthew said, be nice. Okay. Home sweet home. Kyra, I like that. Home sweet home, right? It's pretty interesting because was one necessarily better than the other? I love that. Be happy with what you have. Stay where you like. Love yourself as it is. Emmanuel, I love that. Shalika, people like different things. Exactly. All of these, I think, really make a lot of sense. Home is where the heart is. Because it wasn't that the country was really terrible or that the town was really terrible. I love that too. Work with what you have. Excellent. To be nice to each other. Okay, wonderful. So it wasn't that one was necessarily better or worse, but they were just different, right? For the town mouse, the country was super different because he was used to a fast-paced, crowded lifestyle, and he didn't mind the dangers. He didn't mind kind of running for his life, or he didn't mind almost getting stomped on or running away from the cat all the time because he was like, well, I have this beautiful building to live in where I can have a feast every day and there's a ballroom and things like that. So he didn't mind other things, but for the country mouse, he really preferred a simpler lifestyle. He preferred the greenery, he preferred the hills, and he preferred just something really quiet and simple. And even though maybe he slept on a leaf, maybe he didn't have a lot of fancy food or extravagant food to eat, he still really liked just being in the city, being in the country, and that's what was good for him. So I think all of you have really great things and great lessons that you learned from the story. So that was awesome. I love that. Okay, now that we read that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about character traits. I love that, Shirley. Be honest to yourself and other people. Don't brag. Excellent. Yeah. Almost like be respectful of other people. Even though something may be different, or maybe they look different or dress differently, that's still what they prefer to do. And we know that Toby and Pippin, Toby had a suit and tie, and Pippin just had kind of casual. It's okay. It's okay. Just, right. Don't brag. Just be respectful for other people and be open. I think that's really important. All right. So we're going to be doing a character comparison. So what that is that we're going to be talking about what these two characters are like. Let's start with Town Mice, or Toby Town Mouse. And what is he like? What's a character trait? A character trait is like an adjective or a describing word that tells us about that character. So some of you said, he's fancy. Okay, I like that. He's fancy. Excellent. What else is Toby Town Mouse? Is he mean and rude? Yeah, arrogant. I like that word, arrogant. Whoops, my font is getting all funny, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. Arrogant. Yeah, I think he is definitely, I don't know if he means to be mean, but he definitely was. So I'm going to add that in there, that he was like kind of rude. He was like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. I can't believe you live like this. He tells the truth. He's fancy. He's proud. I would say he's proud. Yes, definitely. All right, Mira, thank you. Cruel. He's polite. I'm not sure if he's super polite, but he's definitely fancy. I think he's arrogant. He's rude. What else? Picky. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. And we can always go back to the text. We can go back to the book and look for evidence in the text. We can look for, oh yeah, he was. Because he kept complaining. He's like, oh, it's too damp. He's too this. And then someone said brave because of the cat. I think that's also really great. He's brave, like he doesn't mind almost being stomped on and things like that. And I love how you mentioned from the cat, because that's using evidence from the text to support our thinking. Not grateful, complain. He did kind of complain, didn't he? Yeah, I think so too. Kind of adventurous. Yeah, I think that works. Definitely. Anything else? We have boastful. I think that fits too. That kind of goes along with arrogant, but he's definitely boastful, and we can look in the text for examples why he would do that. It's interesting because Toby Town Mouse came to visit Pippin on his own. Pippin didn't even know that he was coming. So that was interesting that he just showed up, but then even after that, he's like, yeah, nope, I don't want to stay here. This is terrible. You should come and live with me in the town. Grouchy, scared of the cat. I'm not sure that the town mouse was scared of the cat, but I think definitely he knew that it's a dictation. Okay. All right, these are all wonderful adjectives, and that these are all really great. Someone said, Casey, you said humble. I think let's start off by saying humble for the country mouse. I think that word definitely fits. So humble, it's kind of like the opposite of being arrogant or proud or boastful. So he's really like the opposite of his cousin, Toby Town Mouse. All right, let's think of some more adjectives for country mouse. What do you think? Simple. Let's add simple. I like that. I think that makes sense. What else? Oh, Pippin has to work for. Yeah, I do think he's kind of hardworking because he was doing a lot of work. They mentioned in the beginning of the text what he was doing in each season to prepare. Right? Like he listened to birds, he nibbled on strawberries. Oh, I don't know if he's hardworking, but I mean, I think he did have to definitely do some things himself. Let's look at the picture clues. You see how he has to make his own bedding? Do we see how he's weaving all that together? Yeah. So that's definitely one way of how he's hardworking. He likes nature. I think that works too. I think he was willing to give it a try, right? He was willing to go and try things out. He's simple, he's hardworking, he likes nature. What else? He's definitely humble. Welcoming? Yeah, I would agree. You're right. And I like how he gave his best berries and nuts for his cousin, but even though it didn't really work out too well, he did try, right? He definitely did try. But he was like, yikes, I do not like nuts and berries. I can't believe you'd give that to me. Let's see what else. Okay, he's nice. I think, yeah, he wasn't as rude. Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts about character traits for Country Mouse? I would say they're both adventurous. You're right. Because even though he's never been on a train, he's never been out away, he still gave it a try. Okay. A big eater. Yeah, they definitely enjoyed eating their fill at that feast. Definitely. All right, great. So this is a way that we discuss character traits, and a way that we talked about how the characters are similar but different. We also know that Toby was, definitely more fancy, country mouse. Pippin was more humble, and they both liked their own things. I think that's something else that's very interesting, that they both liked their own homes and what they're used to. Okay, awesome job with that, friends. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to be listening to another story that is also about a mouse, not Toby Town Mouse or Pippin the Country Mouse. It's going to be a different story, and perhaps you've heard this one too. It's a famous one, but I thought it'd be nice to have a mouse in both characters, and they're both Aesop's fables. So I'm going to share my screen again to the video. And this story is called The Lion and the Mouse. And then we're going to discuss what the moral is for this story, The Lion and the Mouse. So I'm going to share my screen for this. Here we go. And let's listen to this story. And while we're listening, let's try to understand what the moral or the lesson is in this story. Oh, by the way, if you go ahead and adjust your sound now, because the sound will be controlled from your device that you're on. So I have it up on my device, and then just make sure that it is turned up on yours as well.
The Lion and the Mouse by Jerry Pinky. One starry night in the tall grassy fields, a mouse heard an owl. Scared, the mouse practically tried to think of a way to get back to her family. The mouse dove into a hollow log to avoid an evil, mean owl. If she didn't escape, the mean owl would swoop down and snatch the scared mouse. Mouse hid in the tall grass near a hill. She was tired from spending the night scurrying away from the owl. However, without realizing it, Mouse had woken up Lion. With a growl, the lion fiercely picked up the mouse. Lion was furious at Mouse for interrupting his nap. Lion debated whether or not to eat Mouse. The lion was feeling generous, so he let the mouse escape from him. Mouse quickly ran before Lion could change his mind. Mouse returned home to tell all about her story to her babies. Meanwhile, Lion saw a jeep approaching and began warning everybody about the poachers. The poachers made their way into the wild, trying to catch their prey. The poachers set up a trap. As Lion warned the other animals, he tripped on a rope. Lion was trapped as the net rose up into the tree. While Lion was roaring loudly, "Roar!" other animals gathered to see what was happening. From a distance, Mouse heard the familiar sound of Lion, who was yelling for help. Mouse scurried to find Lion and help him. The lion was surprised to see the mouse. Risking her life, the mouse started to nibble on the trap. Mouse worked very hard to break the rope. Slowly but surely, Mouse chewed through the trap. Finally, after 30 minutes of vigorous chewing, she freed Lion from the trap. Lion crashed hard on the ground like a bag of bricks. Lion was astonished. He thanked Mouse for saving his life. If Mouse wasn't there, Lion would have been taken away by the poachers. Mouse returned home with nothing but a piece of trap. The babies were happy that their mother was home. Mouse's babies were proud of their mother's bravery. Mother showed her babies the rope to teach them never to trust poachers.
All right, what do we think of that story? Awesome, good, yeah. Then let's go back and let's talk about the moral of the story or the lesson. What can we learn from this story? The lesson that can be applied and learned in our own life. What is something that we could learn from this story? Let's think about what happened. Let's think about what happened. Oh, I like that. Chaya, is that how you say your name? Trusting? Yeah. So tell me more. What was trusting and what happened in that story? Let's think about the events in that story in the order that they happened in the right sequence of events. I love that Supriti says, if you help others, they will help you back. Yes, that's a great lesson. It doesn't matter. Lucas said, it doesn't matter if you are super small, like how the mouse was so much smaller than the lion, but the mouse was still able to help the lion. Absolutely. Good. I think, Laura, you're saying something similar. You got it. To help other people. Shalika said you should help others. Absolutely. Yeah. But Mackenzie, be brave even when you are small. That's a great lesson. Even though the mouse was so small, she was definitely brave and she wanted to help the lion. Can still be brave and helpful. I like that, Jaden. For sure. Do good to others and good will come. Isabella, great lesson. Good. Help someone when they are in trouble. Derek, I agree. Maribel, little ones are little, but they all have something they can do, definitely. Don't ever think that you're too little to help or that, oh, what's the big deal? It's just going to be one little thing. But look at how the little mouse was able to help the lion. Let's go ahead and keep going. You can still be brave when you're small. Yes, we all have special talents and skills. That is a great lesson, Jackie. Absolutely. Because the mouse had used his sharp teeth and his little paws to able to really get into the net and was able to cut the lion loose. Absolutely. The little can be helpful. Awesome work. You guys really understood the moral of the story. You really understood that. Excellent. That was wonderful. And we also see that there's different characters in the story, but even, let's say the characters of the mice in Town Mouse and Country Mouse and the mouse in The Lion and the Mouse, they can have some similarities, but they can also be really different. So just because there's a mouse in one story and another story, it doesn't mean they'll have the exact same character traits. I think all three mice were adventurous. All three mice were kind of brave, right? Or willing to do something that they haven't done before. But at the same time, they did have different character traits as well. All right. So since we have a little bit of time, I think it'll be great to listen to another one of Aesop's fables. Excuse me. So the one we're going to be listening to is The Ant and the Grasshopper. This is another one that's really great, and it has a nice moral lesson too. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to listen to one more short story from Aesop's Fables. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's start this next story.
Get closer.
Okay.
Still works.
Here we go. And this is one of my favorite ones, actually. I think it has a really good lesson for all of us. Here we go. Sorry, just trying to get this pulled up and share my screen. I know it's lagging. Give me a second, please. Here we go. All right, here it is. You should be able to see that. Let me know if you can see my screen. It says the ant and the grasshopper. Now we can see? Perfect. Okay, here we go.
Ant and the grasshopper.
Chirp, chirp, I love summer. Chirp, chirp, I love singing.
Sang Grasshopper, resting on a tree on a hot summer day. While under the tree, Ant was sweating and slaving away.
Oh, oh. Hey, Ant, life is too short to work so hard.
Summer long.
Listen, Grasshopper, if you don't prepare for winter now, you're going to starve.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's plenty of time. Why worry? I'm going to go back to my singing now. Chirp, chirp.
In no time, summer went and the freezing winter came. Howled and howled, and buckets of snow fell from the winter sky.
Oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, I'm so cold.
Why do we think the grasshopper is so cold and so hungry? Well, he's cold because it's winter time, but why is he so hungry? Maribel, you're right. The ant was hardworking. Why do we think? Yes, I'm seeing lots of great comments. Amina, Ishara, Jaden, Elsie. Yes, he did not work hard. He didn't prepare. He did not prepare for the winter. What was the ant saying to him? He didn't have his food ready. Absolutely, he did not prepare. Well, exactly. And we saw how hard the ant was working. Let's see how the story ends.
What if Ant is right and I starve to death?
Grasshopper went to look for food. But instead of finding food, he got lost in the snow. He could barely move his legs anymore. Luckily, Grasshopper found Ant's house. He mustered up enough energy to knock on the door.
Please, Ant, will you give me some food? Or even just a crumb, please? Don't worry, Grasshopper. I have plenty of food. Come on in.
Grasshopper went inside. He sat next to the fire and ate until he couldn't eat anymore.
This is delicious. And I'm really sorry for making fun of you before. That was wrong of me. That's okay. You can help me next year.
It was then that Grasshopper finally understood why Ant had worked so hard in the summer. And he was thankful that he had such a good friend.
What do we think of that story? Great, good. I'm so glad. Absolutely. So we're talking about different. Let's look at it from a couple of different things. First, let's talk about character traits. The character traits of the grasshopper. How was he in the beginning of the story? How was the grasshopper at the beginning of the story? Let me know in your comments. Yes, he was lazy. kind of happy. You're right. I'm seeing lots of great comments. A little bit rude. Like he had, he made fun, right? Joshua, Arna, singing. Ashara, there was just like not working, right? Just singing. He was like, "And come on, there's plenty of time." Excuse me. I just had to sneeze. Yeah, he was making fun of the ant. Kavya, you're right. Just relaxing, carefree, not really caring. Plenty of time. Come on, ant, enjoy your life. This is silly. Why are you preparing so much? Why are you working so hard? There's no need to do that. Yes, Angelo, Maribel, Ella, excellent, good. And let's describe the character traits of the ant. How was the ant? Definitely, Jocelyn, hardworking. Amna, Shalika, Arna, Kayla, we're seeing lots of the same. Yes, very hardworking, very dedicated, very disciplined, very like responsible, right? Yeah, Annika saying serious. Also, definitely Narane and Quinn, and I think Catherine. There's so many great comments. I think you're saying things like, also, he was really welcoming. When the grasshopper went to him at the end of the story, he could have said, see, I told you you should have worked hard. I told you shouldn't have wasted your time. I told you shouldn't have been lazy. And you should have taken me seriously. So here, that's your lesson. He could have said that, right? But instead, like Rania is saying and Catherine is saying, he's helpful and he was generous. And he said, you know what, that's okay. I can share what I have right now, but next year now you can help me. So I think that helped Grasshopper learn his lesson. He was like, yeah, Aunt, sorry. You know what? You were right. I'm sorry I made fun of you. Jackie, yes, definitely a good friend. And Alba, yes, he was very kind and nice. Definitely. There could be other versions. Shalika, like you're saying, there could be, because Aesop's Fables, they're a collection of stories from long, long ago. There are different versions of the story. Maybe everyone has a different ending where the grasshopper had to learn his lesson the hard way. And the ant did not share his hard work with him because, like, you know what? I told you, and you didn't. So that's tough for you, but at least I'm prepared. I need this for myself. I didn't get extra for you. So maybe it could be, but maybe a moral of the story is also to be kind and to share. So maybe that's something else that we can learn from the story. Okay. Well, that was great. So today we talked about morals and lessons in the story. We talked about what type of like advice or what type of helpful things we can learn from the story. We read 3 different stories today: the Town Mouse and Country Mouse. Also, we read we listened to The Lion and the Mouse, which also had a really great moral. And then we ended with The Ant and the Grasshopper, which is another really famous Aesop's fable that had a great lesson and moral for us to learn. So I hope you had a wonderful time today. It's also interesting to see how we can look at characters and compare them in different ways. So that was a lot of fun for me. I hope you enjoyed, and we can apply these great lessons and morals in our lives too, in one way or another. So remember to always be kind, always do your part to help others, and have a great rest of the day. I'm so glad you all joined me today. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for sharing your time with me, and have a great time reading. I will see you tomorrow at the same time. Take care, friends. Bye. Happy reading. Bye, everyone.